Thank you so much for joining us today for the Pastor's Potluck Podcast. Here on the Pastor's Potluck, it's similar to a normal potluck where you might get something that you want and there may be something that you just want to pass up altogether. And that's okay. There's something here for everybody. Our goal here is to encourage you and maybe in the process entertain you. If you're ready, let's dig in. Welcome to another episode of the Pastor's Potluck Podcast. I was going to say that and then I started singing it. I don't know. I need to go back and just make a montage of how we just open up this show.
Yes.
And I think whenever we talked about this last time, because we did just kind of like a overview and we kind of went over with some of the staff members on their spiritual gifts and whatnot. Mm-hmm. But I remember I sang a jingle. Do you remember that?
Was it with me?
Yeah. Spiritual gifts. Spiritual gifts.
Yes.
We are talking about spiritual gifts. Dun-dun.
There you go.
It went just like that.
Yeah. Well, you should record that and just toss it in for every episode. Well, I guess this episode and the next, because there's only 2 more. But anytime you talk about spiritual gifts, you should just throw that little jingle in there.
I should. Mm-hmm. Well, it reminds me of the jingles and the old commercials.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't even remember what this was for. I know it was medicine, and it was maybe just a parent company who produced the pills or whatever, but they had the buy Minin at the end of those medicine commercials. Mm-hmm. And then, we know the McDonald's, da 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 da, I'm loving it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you just need a jingle for mystery meat.
Oh man.
So that way you can toss it in there every time.
I know, but it'd be really
something like, it's time for mystery meat. The part where you may not know what it is, but you're doing it anyway.
Oh, man. Something like heavy metal.
Yeah. Maybe.
And it's just some dude that just screams, mystery meat, and that's it. Yeah, not like that. You sounded like Cookie Monster.
Well,
You did. You sounded like Cookie Monster.
Yeah, that's probably as close as I get, because I don't know that I've ever really listened to heavy metal stuff or whatever.
I think Metallica is classified as metal. So, anyways,
it's not my thing.
Jingles. We're continuing our discussion on spiritual gifts, and this is part 3 in a series of 4. And first and foremost, we just want to encourage people just to go ahead and take the spiritual gifts assessment that you can find on our website, src.life.spiritualgifts. It is, especially if you're new or relatively new, or maybe you're just, maybe you've been following the Lord less than 5 years. And this is just a great way, a great starting point to figure out what your next step is. Because we exist to help people take their next steps in their faith journey. And if you haven't done so, this is going to literally let you know where you're going to excel at, where you're going to get life from serving the local church. Even if you don't go to church here, we would encourage you to reach out to us on Facebook or something like that and get a hold of us. And we can kind of give you the results or walk you through something, because you'll get the results at the end as well. But, we'll help you out. I mean, it's not that big of a deal. Mm-hmm. So last week we talked about the functional gifts, and those are the gifts that focus on organizational working of the body. Mm-hmm. This week we're going to be talking about the interpersonal gifts. Give us the definition of what the interpersonal gifts and kind of what we can look forward to in our discussion today of these spiritual gifts.
Well, these are ones that focus more on the relational aspects of the body. So these are going to be found through the expression in the body by enabling the church to be highly relational. They often show themselves in roles where you're encouraging the community in some way. It kind of includes the one another verses, like, so love one another, serve one another.
Yeah.
All those things. Well, you'll find out.
Waiting for the Alani to kick in.
Yes, I did. I should have drank that earlier. Anyway, but they're gonna focus on those things more than like the functional or the insight ones are. And this really just focuses on the relational health of the church overall. Like, that's what they're for. That's where they're gonna come into play, which is cool because, like, I want to go back and see our staff ones, because we talked in one of our meetings recently about how, like, relationships and building those relationships are really the key to, like, helping, maintain growth.
Yeah.
Really. And that's going to be a real big factor. So I want to go back and, like, look at everyone's and see who's good at this. Like, I love talking to people. Mm-hmm. And I do like hanging out with people, but you'll find, like, this is not my majority of highest giftings in this area.
Yeah, I've got a couple high ones, but then, like, whenever we get down to one, we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
It's funny.
Yeah.
Like, the way that we'll go about this, because there are people that really exceed at a lot of these, and that's where, if you do succeed in any one of the functional gifts or the interpersonal gifts or the insight gifts, and we'll go, like I said, we're going over the interpersonal, and then next episode, we're going over the insight gifts. But you'll see, like, all three of these kind of, like, groupings, like, are just desperately needed for everybody to come together and work together as a team.
Yeah.
Because if we get a church of nothing but functional people with functional gifts, then our turnaround rate is going to be very high, because people are not making those connections. They're not making those friendships. And that's what's important, because people want to feel connected. They want to feel like they belong. Yeah. And so that's why I'm so excited that we get to talk about this, because this is, like you said, this is like the connection phase. Yes. This is meeting new people, and, and encouraging them, and, maybe showing hospitality. And we'll get into these gifts and talk about it, and what they look like, and maybe just also be an encouragement that if you don't feel like necessarily like these are your strong suits, maybe it is something that the Lord is kind of like put on your heart to maybe go out of your way to step into something that does make you a little bit uncomfortable, but then you find that you really, really, really excel at. Yeah. But yeah. So interpersonal gifts. Awesome.
Well, these ones, if you take the assessment that we give you access to, they'll be the ones that are in green on your assessment. And the first one here is encouragement. Encouragement is used to counsel, model, and encourage people through one's personal testimony, life, and scripture, so that people are comforted and encouraged to action. Romans 12:8 is a good example of this, but it's things like comforting people through hardship, having, like, feeling free to help counsel people through courses of action. If you're like, hey, well, you're really down in the dumps about this, maybe you could do this, and that would help you, get out of that funk or whatever. You generally probably enjoy people. You can identify feelings and emotions of others. You can approach you with their problems. This is one of my higher ones on here, so I'll just say I'm not, like, super high, but I mean, it's 86 is what I'm.
That's what I got.
Hey, twinsies. But
except I'm tall.
And you naturally cheer up people, and so I don't know that I'm always the best at cheering people up, but I do know that a lot of people come to me with their problems, like, all the time. Maybe it's that bartending experience. Probably. I'm telling you.
For me, I think it's just the overall trying to be an encouragement. Like, I'm I'm the type of person that is going to look at someone and tell them thank you like 100 times.
Yeah.
Not just because it's just lip service, it's because I'm genuinely thankful for individuals that really step up and are doing things around the church that help make Sunday through Saturday happen.
Yeah.
Like every day whenever I leave here on Sundays, I roll my window down, and then that individual that's like right there waving at people whenever they leave the parking lot, I roll my window down and I said, "Hey, thank you for serving. I appreciate you." Yeah. And I know that a lot of the times, like even the parking lot team, it's just like the media team. Like it's just a behind the scenes role, not a lot of compliments, not a lot of thank yous for that, because it often goes unnoticed, not unless something goes terribly wrong. Yeah. And those people need a lot of encouragement because you're outside, like the parking lot team, they're outside. And, we've had some
in whatever weather.
Yeah, we've had some pretty brutal weather, this summer. It's been real hot and like way more arid than it typically is because I think the first year that we got here, like it rained every single week. But like we haven't had a whole lot of rain this summer.
It's like yesterday when I walked out, even at 8:00, it was like walking into like this big wall of heat. Like it was crazy. Brutal. So crazy. But I mean, they're out there in the rain. They're out there in the snow, freezing cold temperatures. Like we're big about, we have some there are these rechargeable neck fans, like cool air neck fans that we have for them for summer. But like, it's one of those that I think whenever you can, we try to share stories with them whenever we can of people who, because you wouldn't believe how many people like actually get here and they're still thinking about leaving before they get out of the car. But when that parking team person sees them and waves at them, then they're like, oh gosh, like one of our high level people on the First Impressions team is somebody who wanted to still leave, but because the parking team had seen her, she didn't feel like she could. So she decided to get out and come in. But I think like sharing those things and like reminding them about that stuff is a big encouragement for people. Yeah. I think any chance that we can do that stuff, like I'm not the greatest at sending cards for people, but like in the moment, or I'll send a text, or in the moment I'll tell them thank you, like that. Like, but I feel like I'm not great at the like after the fact or throughout the rest of the week. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'll think about it, but I just won't do it. But if this is one of your giftings, then you're going to be great at like visitations, whether that's hospital or just getting and going and having coffee with somebody. Yeah. So they can sit and tell you their problems, and you can encourage them in some way. Card team is one of those that's going to be really great because, we send cards to people whenever there's sickness, illness, death, celebratory, even new baby, like all of those things. We try to send those. Which that's getting off the ground. I'm really excited about that. And I mean, it's one of those that there was a prayer request that came in. It didn't even cross my mind about, we should send them a card. But somebody else that's on the prayer team saw it and they put it in the card team thing. Like, hey, who wants to send a card to this person? And I was like, man, that's why we're better together.
Oh, for sure. And I guarantee you if that individual took a spiritual gifts assessment, they would score really high.
Oh, I do know that. I know this person and I know that. Like I know they're really high on like that and mercy and stuff like that. But anyway, and she's my my stand-in elder for this time until we vote in a new one, and she's already sent me like 2 or 3 cards. Yeah. And I think she's even sent Anthony a card. Like she's just really, I know for a fact, like hers is super high on that. And even though I'm like, just save your stamps, but it really did mean a lot to me, like in those moments to see that, to open it up and be like, man, I can't even believe she was thinking about me in that way. Like to take the time and do that. I think that's what most people, when they get a card, they're like, wow, they actually took the time to do that in this day and age, digital world. Like, but I think encouragement comes into a lot of plays like that. I think you can also be, if you're somebody that's, I think prayer ministry even would be a good place to serve if that's higher in your gifts.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of times when we're praying for people, like part of that is also encouraging them to, stay faithful, to remind them about God's goodness and stuff like that. But yeah, I think that's an area that I want to improve in all the time, but I'm not always great at it.
Well, I think that even if you score high on it, it's just finding maybe a new way because it's not that you don't think of reaching out and connecting with an individual. It's just finding unique ways that will make a bigger impact.
Yeah. And I think the part about like how it's through our personal testimony and life and whatever, I think you and I are both really like open and good at just sharing with people like what we're going through or how God's helped us. Like I remember a time where you even were like, hey, I put this verse over on my computer to help remind me about this and to like stay encouraged in it. And I was like, man, like that encouraged me just because you were like, I want to keep it at the forefront of my mind. And
yeah,
I think stuff like that is just cool to share at times of like, hey, I was going through this and God told me, or God did this or sent this person to do that. Like, I think we're good about sharing those moments, even the little tiny things like putting a verse or found this quote or whatever. And you do that through scripture. Like even in your pre-service meetings that you have with your team, like you always use scripture at the end with a little
100%.
like thing for them to help encourage them and remind them of what they're doing and how important it is even for the behind the scenes people. And I think that's like, that comes into play with your encouragement stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I'm generally a happy person. Like I like to laugh. I've got more joy for people in certain times of their life than they want to deal with. But I just want to be able to just give people just like a glimmer of hope with what they're going through, because it's always at the forefront of my mind. I have been forgiven of so much.
Yeah.
I have gone through so much, and God has been faithful through every step of my life, even in the times where I knew looking back on it now, it was the Holy Spirit just saying, hey, don't do this. You're going to die. Don't do this. You're going to die. Yeah. Don't continue down this path. Like, and just for some strange reason, listening and being, and just following those words that were just put on my heart and my mind, because that was just God just saying, hey man, I've got something really good for you. I've got plans for you. And I didn't know it at the time. And I'm glad that I was just okay with dropping all of that eventually. And now seeing what God has done for me, I want people to understand that God's got a plan and a purpose for you as well. Yeah. Like your life, your situation, it's probably not ideal in the moment for you, but there's something always, always, always better whenever God is in control. And give him the chance to be king of your life, and he won't let you down. Yeah. Obviously, we don't get the answers to the right answers that we want, right? Because God's will is greater than ours, and he sees a bigger picture than all of that. But he's not going to leave us because we get what we perceive as the wrong answer. Right. Like he's going to be there with us. He's going to lift us up whenever we feel like we want to give up. He's going to give us the strength to push on. He's going to give us the tenacity to keep on pushing forward. And there are moments and times where each and every single one of us goes through these feelings where we just were like, man, I wish I could just go back, Yeah. But the promise was never that this walk that we're on, this journey that we are on, was going to be easy. The promise was that he's never going to leave us. Yeah. And that gives me more joy than anything, because the creator of everything, the creator of the universe, the one who sent his son Jesus to die for me, and take my place to where I didn't have to pay for my sins. Like what? He
Right.
loves me.
Yeah.
He cares for me.
Man, you're preaching. I love it. It's great. I am sitting here thinking, like, I don't know if I shared with the full staff, but at youth camp this past year, I was sitting around with the student leaders, and there's someone in that group that he just finished his first year of college, is about to go to, is in his second now. But he was sharing, we were talking about suffering and all that. And he said, in all my studies, I found two things to be true. He said, the only thing we're told that we deserve in this world is death. Like we deserve death, right? Yeah. I mean, we're born sinful. We're a sinful creature. That's what we deserve. But what we're only promised one thing, and that's that God will be with us.
Yeah.
Like that we have eternal, like the ability to have him present now and forever. Like that's the promise. So we deserve this, but he promises to be with us. And I was like, man, that's so cool that at that age, he's got that.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things that I think in those times when we're feeling that whatever, like we're often feeling that we deserve more than what maybe we realize we do. And I'm not saying like everybody's terrible or whatever, but that's honestly what you deserve. But in God's grace and mercy, he made a way that we don't have to worry about that. Now we're given his presence and eternal life with him.
Yeah. And to go through all of this, like alone, I'm a Christ follower, but I don't go to church. I'm not plugged in. I'm not doing anything. It does make it 1,000 times worse.
Yeah.
Because I can't imagine like losing a child or losing my wife, Erica, and not have a community of people that would be around me and surround me with as much prayer as they could possibly give.
Yeah.
And as much encouragement and as much love, and just, if I had to go through that, I'm glad that I'm around people who want to encourage me, and I want to be that individual for someone else if they're going through something.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a lot of times why, part of the comfort in our afflictions, our troubles, is that we are comforted by the Father so that we can go and comfort others likewise. And that's all part of encouragement. Yeah. We could literally talk about encouragement the whole day, I think.
I know.
But we'll move on. So service is the next one. This is actually my lowest gift, which I think is crazy because, when we did a thing with our staff not long ago, and it was like, great leaders serve others before themselves or whatever. I'm like, oh. Anyway, the definition is that they unselfishly meet the needs of other people through practical service that is most often behind the scenes. In some gifts, this would be called like tests. It would be called helps. So helps and service is kind of the same thing. Romans 12:7, 1 Corinthians 12:28 are verses you can go to about that. But this is someone who you work by yourself or in a small group. I don't really like to always work by myself. That's probably part of why I'm low on it. You have a desire to help others. I part of this, I really wondered if it was the season, the time of my life that I took this, where I was like, nope, I don't want to help anybody, because I was going through some stuff. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, I don't feel that. That's not, but honestly, it's not always my first inclination to just be like, oh, you need help with that? Sure, I'll help you. It's not always my first thing. But I think also it's because I had to help myself a lot growing up. I'm that person that's like, I can do it myself, or you can learn how to do it yourself. So it's just not my first thing.
This is my second to highest.
Yeah, I could see that. It says you don't need to receive public recognition. You don't enjoy, that's me. I don't care about public recognition. I would like a thank you behind the scenes occasionally, but I'm okay with a text. I don't like the even face to face, when somebody, it makes me feel weird. You don't enjoy handling major leadership or overseeing responsibilities. I actually enjoy that. So that makes sense that I didn't score high. You enjoy doing things for someone that enable them to use their gifts more fully. That's probably like the main thing of why I scored anything at all on it, is because I do enjoy figuring out how to let other people use their gifts. But I was low. What was your score?
90.
Nice.
The highest one I got is a 92, but it's on the Insight Gifts. But so this one in administration are my second to highest to tie it at 90. But for me, even my my love, like my highest love language is acts of service. It's just doing for other people.
Yeah.
And I think it's so weird. Like whenever you like go through life for so long and you're selfish and you're stealing and, you know, you're just doing all this stuff for yourself, and then Jesus gets a hold of you, and then it's just like, okay, like what, like my life is like an exact opposite of what I was before Jesus. I enjoyed just doing like little stuff for people, you know, just, you know, I'm a acts of service person, or like I set things up for success before they even come into, like whenever we do our Thursday, our midweek rehearsal for worship team, like things are already done and set up in a way to where like I want people to come in and I want them just to maybe just look over the fine detail stuff to make sure, you know, everything's spelled correctly. And
yeah, but you're serving them so that way they can do their job and in their way, but also like it's your way of behind the scenes getting things to a place where they can come in and actually just know that you care, that you're not just, you know, throwing them out there.
And I'm seeing like a shift too, and like this, because I'm getting to a point, and this is where it's going to come into a little bit of another one of our gifts, which we'll talk about next week. But and that gift is more of like, it's just the teaching ability. But it's not necessarily teaching them about what God, like who God is and who he can be for them. But it's more of like, I see it shifting to where instead of just doing it, let me give them something to where they can learn to do it. So if I'm busy doing something on the music side of things during our rehearsal, that they can address those issues by themselves instead of waiting for me to be done. And then we take up more time.
That's enabling them to use their gifts more fully.
Yes.
So that's,
I'm seeing that shift happen more and more.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just like doing stuff for people too.
Yeah. I think that that all comes into play. I think of people who like to do facilities work, like the guy who comes and cuts our grass every week. I would guarantee his service is pretty high.
Yeah.
Because there are so many things, like people who don't mind to come up and clean a building, or like all your behind the scenes media team, like tech team. They're all people who probably, I would say, this is probably a little bit higher. They don't like, if you are somebody who has this, you probably like that behind the scenes stuff where you're not necessarily going to want to always, unless you have some other gifts and talents, you're not always going to want to be up on the stage and stuff like that. So like, all of those things, we even have that within our other ministry areas. So if this is you and you're like, yeah, I want to be behind the scenes, we've got camera, we've got the media computers, we've got sound, we've got lights, we've got live stream, and kids and youth, we have the audio, what's called media computer as well. There's literally so many other things that you can do. Like if you're high on administration with this, then you probably would like to come in and maybe do some office work during the week, or even on a Sunday while you're here. There are so many things like that, that you could help and pitch in on that are really cool. I think seeing the combinations of those things, helps also, like to see, okay, I'm high on administration and I'm high on service. That means give me some stuff to do throughout the week. That might mean like coming in during the week and helping to set up and prep kids activities, and stuff like that. Like there's so many things.
Or just check paper towels and soap dispensers.
Yeah. I mean, we have someone that I know, hers is that she comes in on Fridays, and we do pay her a little bit, but like I think she's the type of person who would have probably volunteered and done it if we did,
Yeah.
you know, but we were like, no, we'll pay you a little. But she's also one who loves to serve in the nursery, because she's like, I mean, that's kind of one of those areas that it's like, you're really serving in that place, but you're not having to teach or be up front or like whatever.
Well, people always think too, like with the nursery, they always think like, oh man, I'm just going to have to hold a crying baby for, an hour and 15 minutes.
But you're serving those parents in such an amazing way.
Yeah. And that's the wrong,
right.
because it's so awesome just to be able just to, to have a little baby sitting in your lap, and you just pick up one of those easy Jesus books that we have in there. And even though they may not understand it, I mean, it's almost kind of like you're praying these things over them, like, Jesus loves you, singing those, like, those very elementary songs.
Yeah.
But what a way to make an incredible experience for young babies, just to be able to, enjoy coming to church. And that's just creating a lifelong passion for them, that they just enjoy coming and being here in the building.
Well, I think like, at that stage in a child's life, like their main need is to be cared for and served. Like they need to know that they're safe, like, and you embrace that need when you serve in somewhere like the nursery. But it's also a great act of service for the parents more than anything.
Yeah.
Because yes, the parent could take that baby to service, but they're distracted. And even if their baby's not super loud, their thought the whole time is, I hope this baby doesn't start crying, because then I'm going to be a distraction for everybody else.
Yeah.
And I don't want that to happen. And so like, even if they're being a good baby, like that's still, that thought is in your mind the whole time. And so, speaking of, like, if you would like to serve in the nursery, let us know. But hospitality is the next one.
Third to lowest. Third to lowest.
I'm not. It's probably my third to lowest also. And actually, I've grown in this, I will say. Like, when I first ever took an assessment, it was pretty low. And I think some of my answers to the questions on this were like, I live in Elkview. I don't want to make people drive all the way out there to come to my house.
But then you realize,
but I'll take people to dinner all the time. So, but it says that you reach out to others and welcome them into your home and life in a loving, warm manner. These guests feel at home in your presence. It's, even if this is not your gifting, like, it doesn't mean that you can't do this. Yeah. Because I think like some of the other giftings come into play where like people feel comfortable coming to you for their problems, that type of stuff. But like, I am almost probably too lax in things where when I have people over, I'm just like, hey, come on in. And I'm just like, I don't think to offer them a drink or anything. Like, I'm just like, if they end up saying, hey, do you have some water? I'm like, oh yeah, there's cups by the fridge and we got the water thing on the fridge. Like, I don't offer to go get it for them. I'm just like, I probably am more like, yeah, this is your home, go do it. Like, maybe a little too much in that way. I mean, our house isn't super big, so it's like, you can find your way, but I don't think to tell them where the bathroom is, like, it's not, I have to work at this one hard. Yeah. Which thankfully, like, I'm helping to lead the First Impressions team, which is really the greatest place for you to serve if you have this gift. Yeah. However, like, I'm not necessarily serving on the team, I'm serving the leaders. And so I'm helping them to use their gifts rather than me stepping in and trying to do that. And so I can see and I can read and like understand that these are the things that need to happen or that should happen. But I understand that that's probably not me, but I can help identify the ones who do have that, who are good at that. But
yeah, I think for me, I mean, like, inviting people over to my home, like, I get, and I'm not trying to make this funny or anything, but it is going to come across as really funny. I don't want a whole lot of people to know where I live.
I get that.
Whenever I get home, like I've got stuff like
That's
I've
your
got to
safe
do.
space.
It's the one area to where I feel that I can really, really, really just like decompress, relax. Even though nothing is relaxing about 4 kids and 2 Great Danes and a wife that runs 1,000 miles an hour, sun up to sun, from the time she wakes up to the time she goes to sleep, she is like, go.
I think because of all those things, inviting any more into it is stressful for you more than
100%
exciting for you.
Well,
or enjoyable for you.
And I know that my house will, like, to my standard, like, it'll never ever be where I want it to be whenever somebody comes over. Yeah. Even if I just hired like a professional cleaning service, which I don't, because I'm not going to waste money on that. But anyways, we're going back to my my giving deal. But anyways, it'll never meet a standard, and so I'm always thinking that, okay, somebody's gonna, oh dang, they see like the dog hair, that's in the corner over there.
My group, we went to Dairy Queen this past week instead of our house because it wasn't bad, and it would have only taken maybe 20 minutes to clean up, but I didn't want to do it. And I didn't really care. And it was like, they're either going to come over and there's going to be a mess, or we're going somewhere else. Because nobody was really hungry. We hadn't figured out food either. And I was like, if we go to Dairy Queen, those who aren't hungry can have ice cream. Those who are hungry can grab their own food. Like, and it's right around the corner. But I mean, it was one of those where I'm like, when you come to group at my house, you're going to know that my house is lived in. Like, yeah. I've been to groups at people's houses where it's like immaculate, and you're like, is this a show house? Like, do people actually live here?
Yeah.
Because it's so nice and so put together. And I think some of it is we have that pressure of feeling like it's got to be a certain standard. But Anthony, actually, my husband, he's really high on hospitality.
Yeah.
And he is. And I think that's why I notice that I don't do the things, because he'll do it. Like, he'll come behind me and be like, hey, do you want something to drink? I can grab you a water. We've got this. We've got that.
Yeah.
The bathroom's right over here. Like, he is so good about that stuff that I'm not. And even though he's kind of an introvert, like, he's really good at meeting new people. He can, like...
I've never seen anybody connect with people the way that your husband does. And
it's wild.
It blows my mind, because he will find something that they both can connect with in less than 5 minutes.
It's wild.
Like, it's crazy, like, how good he is with this.
Yes. And so, because I know whenever we talked about this change that was going to be happening with me helping with first impressions, he's like, I think I'd like to help you with that. But then he's going through like a lot of stuff at work, like his workload and everything. So he hasn't been able to help a lot, but he is so good at this. And it doesn't matter their age. It doesn't matter, anything. Like, he can find something and connect with them, and he can go up and be like, hey, I'm Anthony. Can I help you with something? And they're like, oh yeah. And I mean, all of a sudden they're talking about Star Wars and who knows what. It's crazy. But I mean, because he will find something, and I'm not that great at that. Like, if somebody approaches me and will ask me for help, I will help them 100%. But I feel so awkward and weird going up to people.
Well, I know that people just are going to look at me funny already. Like, I get it.
And and I'll sit there and be like, hey, I'm Cheryl. And they're like, yeah, we know. And I'm like, yeah, I know that you see me do the welcome every week, but I don't know you. Like, can you, like, why do you have to say it like that?
Yeah,
please just say,
thanks for making
I'm
this
so-and-so.
awkward for me.
Yeah. But anyway, these are people, 1 Peter 4:9 is where you go in scripture for this. These are people who actually pray that God will use you to accommodate visitors. I don't think I've ever prayed a prayer like that before.
Yeah.
It says you enjoy meeting new people. I do. I like meeting people, but I'm more like, you reach out to me first. I don't necessarily.
Or if it's in like a group setting.
Yes.
Like in a group setting, it makes it easier.
Yes,
but like
absolutely.
individually, I'm like, because you like, you like sports? And they're like, nope. I'm like, oh, dang.
Listen, we had a meeting with somebody who's new to the church the other day, and it was cool, but it was one of those where I felt like I'm trying to ask some questions to draw this person out. And I'm like, I literally was like, so are you a gamer or what do you like to do? Cause I don't know. He seemed like maybe the type that would like to do. Like,
I despise video games.
And he's like, not as much as I used to. I do play with my brother some cause he's in New York. And I was like, cool. Did I just offend this person? Anyway,
I know I overthink things. I think that's obviously not a spiritual gift, but I would score really high on overthinking situations.
Yeah. It says that you enjoy preparing meals for guests. Again, I'm like, can we just go to dinner? It's one of those but Anthony loves it. Like Anthony will be like, I'll cook chili. I'll cook curry. Do you like Indian? Like, anyway, you're relaxed, entertaining people. I'm not very relaxed. I'll be relaxed talking to you while we sit there.
Yeah.
That's it. You're not upset if your home is not perfect. Again, we already talked about that.
I know.
Many people just stop by. I don't have that happen. You enjoy asking neighbors over? Nope. You open your home for Bible studies. We did do this, but this was after like years of hosting in other places, and we ended up just doing it mainly because where our kids are at, like in the stage of life, and we
don't need to be getting home at 9:30.
Right, and we're kind of one of those where if we're here, we're gonna lead it if we're here. But when other people, like when you're relying on a host home and somebody's sick or somebody's out of town and you feel like, well, we have to cancel because we don't have their home. Yeah. We were like, we're not doing that. Like, we'll just host it so that way we can be more consistent and whatever. But I mean, I've opened it in the past for other things like that, but it's all people that like I'm comfortable with. You know what I mean? It's not like new random people that I'm just like, yeah, sure. I mean, I do invite new people to the group, but they're people that I also have had a connection with at some point. I'm not one that's going to go recruit like a brand new person that I have no connection with whatsoever.
Yeah. So. I think I tend to just walk in other people's shoes a little bit much because I'm like, how weird would it be if someone came up to me and was like, I've only seen you on stage. We've never like shook hands or anything like that. And you're like, hey, come on over. You'd be like, what are you going to do? Kill me? Like,
I'm a little scared. Yeah. I mean, I think that's one of the things with groups that is difficult because a lot of times you are asking somebody to come to a home that they've never been to, people that they don't know, to meet with people they don't know. And it's scary for a lot of people. Yeah. But that's why we do like the things like the groups connect and whatever, because we want you to, like, the hope is that you meet somebody that's either in the group or leading the group on that day. Yeah. We rely heavily on, I really challenge the group leaders to go and interact with people and kind of recruit for their own groups because I think people are more apt to feel comfortable in that way when they've had a conversation with somebody that they, like, now you know them, you've met them at least.
Yeah, instead of making the decision for themselves.
Yeah, and so...
because you stare at a wall of everybody's picture and you go, okay, who's the nicest one?
Who looks more like me? Or, yeah. Anyway, but the next one is mercy. It says that they empathize with those in need, especially those suffering and in trauma, and to manifest empathy so those in need are strengthened. Romans 12:8 says that there's more that says that, like, you find it easy to identify with the feelings of someone in pain. You cry easily or show emotions when you see or hear things that sadden you. Your immediate reactions when you see someone in difficulty is to want to reach out and help. That's probably the part of the thing that makes me a little low on this. You can become bitter because of injustices someone else suffers. Your prayer life includes the needs of many personal struggles people are experiencing, and you enjoy calling on people in the hospital or in their homes. Where are you at on mercy?
76 out of 100. So not like crazy high, but still within like the second to last like little quadrant there or whatever. I think that I obviously this is something that I could get better at. But like whenever people are in the hospital or sick or something like that, like I want to try to be an encouragement, because that's something like out of their control. It's just just whatever life's thrown at you physically. It can be very discouraging, like like my grandmother passed away from liver cancer, and you think, oh, she shouldn't have been drinking, and like as far as I know, she never drank anything in her life, and it just broke my heart. People that are going through cancer, say if they've got like lung cancer or something, and they were never like a smoker or something, and you're like, it's just
I think those that plays well with the encouragement gift.
Like I want to show up for people and pray with people during those moments and those times, and empathize with people. I can't fully do that to the best of my ability, because I haven't gone through anything like that was like extremely taxing medically. I've been blessed and fortunate with that aspect of life, but and I think why I scored like a little bit low, because at the same time, like there's other people that are going through things that are almost kind of like self-inflicted. And so I can't really empathize with that. There's people that are really good with that can, that can be an encouragement in those times. But I'm like, bro, if you're having money problems, quit spending money.
Right.
Like,
I get it.
Like that's where
it's hard in those moments. Or if it's like just they kind of have that victim's mentality, and it's always something or somebody else's fault or somebody else. Then that's when it's hard for me. I scored an 84 on this, and I think like a lot of it is I am a very empathetic person, just natural, always have been very empathetic. I think that part of like somebody in pain or trauma or that type of, like, I've been through a lot of that, and so I can easily empathize and understand and get it, and I cry easily. Like, I'm the person that it doesn't matter who's talking. If they start to get emotional or cry, I'm like instantly starting to cry too. It doesn't matter who it is. I think like the times that I am less this way, I think are when I don't know. I am one of those people that a lot of people would think is maybe a little heartless when it comes to like just death. You know what I mean? Like, death is part of life, but it's also, it wasn't part of the original plan. But in God's mercy himself, he didn't want us to have to live in this broken world forever in a broken body. Like, you know what I mean? And so I see the hope in that aspect of it, where I'm like, now it's hard when it's somebody young or it's somebody that you don't know if they believe in Jesus. The only time I've cried recently over a death was my uncle, who I don't know that he ever surrendered his life to Christ at the end. And that was tough because I don't have that hope for him. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have that hope of understanding that, now he is in a better place, a better body, a better everything. Like, I don't have that for him. But in the normal, even when it's cancer, even when it's those things, it's like I kind of have that feeling of, well, you're gonna go in some way, which is, it's not very merciful or encouraging to be. I don't say that to people, right? Like, I'm not like looking at somebody whose mom just died of cancer and saying, well, they had to die in some way. But like, I don't say that. I might think it though.
Thanks for the clarification.
But it's one of those, because there's a lot of people who, when they're like, why did God have to take my mom? Like, why couldn't they, that kind of thing. And it's like, you do realize at some point they were going to die. Like, that's what's in my head in that moment. And so in those moments, it's like, it sucks. Like, but at the same time, there was going to be a day where your mom was going to die. Like, people all the time are like, oh, Jesus just needs to come back. But it's like, people have been waiting a long time for that. You know what I'm saying? Like, so in those moments, even though it's not necessarily my thought, like, I can still empathize and be there. But I do definitely have some of those thoughts that are not the most merciful in those times. But again, like, this is one of those, like, visitations, whether that's just sitting with coffee with someone, being that safe space where they can come and bring their pain. Like, I think some of this is like being able to sit with somebody in their pain, where, like, you have a really high encouragement gift. You probably would want to, like, steer them to that positive and that hope and whatever in that moment. Yeah. But, like, we're doing in our book club this time around, we're doing a book called Disobedient God by Albert Tate. And it's talking about just being able to sit in the rooms of lament and grief and mourning, and being okay in those moments where you're upset or you're angry or you're sad or whatever, and feeling it and not trying to fix it in that moment. Yeah. Like, being okay sitting with somebody in it and letting them know it's okay to sit that or think that or feel that. But you don't want them to sit there forever. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so but in that initial stuff, like, sometimes just being able to sit with them in it and not try to fix it. Because, I mean, somebody loses a young child, there's no fixing that. Yeah. Sorry. See,
it's getting you. I thought you were choking.
No, this is me trying not to cry when I think about that. But
I was worried about you. I thought that I was like, dude, did you just swallow and it went down the wrong pipe?
This is my mercy gift coming out to play. Thanks so much.
I was like about to go grab something, like a trash can. I didn't know if you were going to throw up or something. Sorry.
No, we're good. See, this is it. So if you're somebody, like, maybe you're watching or listening and you're getting emotional, well, you probably have the gift of mercy. Just saying.
Moving right on.
Yep, go for it. Hit us with the next one.
So we're the next spiritual gift that we're going to talk about is shepherding. You have the expanded definition, but it's to nurture a group of believers by caring for their spiritual welfare in a holistic manner on a longer term basis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So 1 Peter 5:1-4 and Ephesians 4:11 is where you can find this in scripture. It's often you're a people person and enjoy being around others. You tend to build deep relationships. Others are attracted to you because they sense that you generally care for them. People see you as a warm person. You're frustrated with tasks that take you away from ministering to those around you. You feel inadequate to meet all the needs of those around you. And you enjoy being able to focus on a few rather than being spread too thin. What'd you score?
I'm like right in the middle at a 58.
Hey, that's me too.
Yeah. Twinsies again.
I know.
Except you're shorter. But yeah, I think that someone that's like oversees like quite a few people in a ministry that's like on a pastoral staff, like it's difficult to make like
deep relationships with everyone.
Yes, because there's so much of our job and our aspect that like there's things that just we cannot talk about. Right. And because so many people do come to us and talk to us and they're going through things and so like it's not out of like pure intention that we do this, but we like a lot of like our connections has to be like just a little bit deeper than surface level. Like I don't even know if that's where this fits in, but like it's really hard to be able to connect with someone if an individual is sharing so much and we can't share and reciprocate that type of conversation. And so it's difficult. I'm not saying that it can't be done.
Yeah, I think especially when it comes to like work life, like we're not going to pretend that ministry, that we don't ever like disagree with our coworkers or anything like that. That happens even in ministry.
Yeah.
But we can't talk about it. To regular, like,
no,
for the most
because
part.
then
Like,
people are like, oh my gosh, something's going to happen.
Yeah. Like this is why I have pastor friends at other churches that I can talk to.
Yeah.
Because they get it and they understand it at a level to where if I can say like I'm voicing frustration about something or a situation at work, they know that I'm not like running for the hills or in the like gonna doom everything. They get it because they've been there. Like they understand it. And so I think that's when it's hard to like go deep with people, because a lot of people's issues and frustrations are with work stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, you don't.
But having someone to talk about those things too,
yes,
and being able to voice those things out loud also kind of brings, like, whenever you hear it, you're like, oh, okay, that's not as significant as I thought it was.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then because that other individual's like, if that's all Jared's doing, like, you've got a pretty good.
Yes, absolutely. And so I think that it's one of those with this gift, like it does say like you enjoy being able to focus on a few rather than being spread too thin.
Yeah.
I think that probably hits with us a little bit more. That's why I really enjoy my group when it's small. Like, and I think that our groups will function and be better when they're smaller groups rather than these big, large groups, because you can go deeper with with fewer people than what you can with a larger group.
Yeah.
And so that's my thing. Like that's where it hits me. I mean, I am a people person. I do like being around people. I do like caring for people over an extended period of time. But it's also like, I think that we have a lot in our roles where we're made for roles that you have more people and you maybe have a turnover of people as well.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we know that not everybody who comes here is going to stick here forever at Southridge Church. We have new people every single week.
Yeah.
And so I think God's built us to be in the roles that we're in that way. But I can see people like, if you are if you're a teacher, like you get to, for an entire year, stick with the same group of kids.
Yeah.
I actually, like, we've had some recent additions to kids ministry, and they are people, several of them are teachers, and a lot of them scored high in this gift.
Yeah.
Because they do enjoy that. And so that, like, it's playing also in the role of what they're doing in their real life job. But it's also one of those, when I see that on somebody's gifting, I'm like, hey, you would probably really like family ministries, like kids or youth. It actually lists worship leader on here, which is interesting. But I think, any kind of place like that where you can be with them for an extended period of time, you're at least going to have them for a year. The way that some of our classes are here, you have them for a bit longer.
Yeah.
Depending on what it is, or you're at least in the same space with them for a lot longer. And so, those are, when I see that, I'm always like, hey, have you thought about this? Now, often what's hard is when you have new people coming in and they're ready to get started and want to serve, finding a place that they can do that and still tap into that gifting and just get acclimated to actually being a part of the church before we put them in kids ministry is tough. But there are ways, like the way that our teams are built here, a lot of times you're either serving every other week almost with the same group of people.
Yeah.
Or you're, like First Impressions, for instance, we have 4 teams. You're put on one of those teams. You serve with the same people basically every time you serve.
Yeah.
And so it kind of fills into that because you are with those same people and you're creating those connections and relationships with those same people for a long period of time. And so there are places, whether you're new to church or been here a while, that can really come into play in cool ways.
Yeah. Our next one is mentoring, shepherd/teacher. Instruct, guide, and care for believers in a smaller expression of the body so they are equipped to reach out in ministry to others, both inside and outside of the body. This one's a good one. I scored the same one, but I feel like more passionate about this than I think. When did I take this? 2020? I think I took this like 4 years ago. And so like there's some things that obviously I've been working on as an individual just to be able to, because if I know my weaknesses, I'm going to try to figure out like how to improve on it.
Right. And it goes back to that, like, it doesn't mean that you can't do it. It just means that it's not your highest level, but being kind of the middle of the road means that it's not going to like drain you when you operate in this, but it might not be the thing that fills you up the most. You took this 2 years ago, September 2022.
2022. So I was just going by the copyright.
Yeah, that's okay. But yeah, so this is found in Ephesians 4:11. It's also that people look to you for leadership. You're a disciplined person. You definitely are. Goal-oriented, but people-focused. You are successful in preparing and motivating others to become involved in using their gifts in ministry. You train others well. You articulate your thoughts well. You set an example of a godly lifestyle. You get frustrated when you don't see others growing in maturity, and you're concerned that all the needs of the body aren't met. That's
where I think maybe where I got a lot of my points for this, because I get frustrated.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just like, look, I can see like what God wants to do. Like, come on, let's do it. I can't do it for you.
Yes.
And you know, I just know. I know the life that people can find in Jesus.
And you want that for all of them. And so it does get frustrating when it's like, oh, why isn't this getting through to you yet? But it's like that we're doing the things.
Yeah.
And we have to trust the Holy Spirit to work within them and for them to make that decision. But that's hard. It's hard when you do recognize, like, because I think some of this, you know, goes into helping to like get other people involved in using their gifts in ministry. It's like when you see that potential and that what could be for them, like not just in their spiritual walk, but just even what they could do for God. I mean, that is still spiritual walk, but like personal and outward expression are two different things. And so when you see that, it is so hard to like wait and have to let them get there, you know, because they do have to get there. But this is one of my highest, 98. And so it is something that I do really love, like that, helping people and motivating them to use their gifts. That's something I super love, which is really good in my role that I'm in now, because I do help people take their next steps. Like I'm the next steps pastor, so they come to me with these things, next steps and discipleship. But
like some of the, like I have a very distinct process, like to join the worship team. And there's things that need to happen, and whenever it's written out, I've given you the paperwork of what you need to do next.
Right.
I get frustrated because I'm not going to sit there and tell you, because if this is something that you genuinely want to do, then you're going to do whatever it takes to be a part of it.
Yeah.
And if you're not doing those things, then I'm just like, I'm frustrated. Like I get frustrated. Like I'm not going to, you would probably be like, well, no, hey, like I haven't seen you do this yet. Like what's the holdup? I'm not that type of person. Yeah.
Like I have the goal, but I'm also people focused. So I'm like, so even when I was leading kids ministry, for instance, I'd have people come in late, or other things. Like I would know the goal time, you know what I mean? But then I'd have a conversation with them. Hey, what happened? Like, what's going on? You've been late lately. Like, is there something going on in your life? Because I normally, I mean, listen, I understand most of the people who work in kids have kids of their own. And so it's hard, but yeah, I am more of that. Like, I will take them through it step by step and help them get there. Cause I want, like, I understand that I need that. Like, I am one of those that I have goals and things, but I am much better. I mean, I've always told Pastor Scott, like, I like the one-on-one meetings regularly because it helps keep me on track. I am great when I work off a deadline. Like, I need somebody to hold me accountable to those things also. And so if I have somebody like checking in on me, and I know that I'm going to have somebody check in on me on that, I'm going to be much better about it. But I think you do train others well.
I for me, it's
because of that process and that it's laid out.
It's
stuff.
Stepping into this, helping people take their next steps, because I can't just expect people to take their next steps.
Yeah, like
if
a lot
I give
of
it to
people have
them.
never done
and
that.
So that's where I've got to grow into helping people take their next steps on their faith journey.
Yeah.
And just, I mean, that's our mission statement.
Yeah.
Like, that's what we exist to do. We exist to help people take their next steps on their faith journey. And just growing in that, and like understanding and seeing that and voicing it just now is like, okay, like this is a good, not like a wake up call, but a wake up call. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
I'm not being threatened or anything,
right?
But it's one of those, like, I've got to continue to grow in this, just because whenever I begin to live that out, then it becomes easier for me to help others and help others behind them and behind them.
Yeah. And I think because you are such a high level administrative person, if somebody gives you a thing and says, this is what you need to do, you're going to go down and check that thing off like one by one and do it all. But a lot of people are low on that. And so it doesn't come natural for them in any way to go through and do that kind of thing. And so recognizing that, because you're going to have, I'm sure you've had some people who have you told them what they got to do and they just do it. Yeah. But then there are those others that don't. And so it's part of, like, as a shepherd teacher, you recognize that and you see the difference in those people. And so you know who you need to go to do this type of thing with or not. And that's why, like, even for first impressions and everything, like when somebody submits and I get that submission about they want to start volunteering, when I send them that initial email, I send them the spiritual gifts test, because it's going to help me recognize and see what they need in the process as well. And so I think that like some of that just comes from being able to recognize who you're dealing with and how they are made, like how they are created and gifted and whatever too. But
maybe this podcast was for me.
It was a good reminder for me on some things too.
Play that Mystery Meat theme song. Mystery Meat. Da, 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 da.
Yum, 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 yum. Cookie Monster. Is that who you told me I sounded like? Yeah. Yum, yum.
Yeah.
Yum, 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 yum.
What's the funniest or most embarrassing autocorrect mistake you have ever sent or received?
Someone sent me a message trying to say that they were going to Canal City, or they were going to the DMV, and it auto-corrected to I'm going to get divorced, or I'm going to divorce, or something like that. It like changed DMV to divorce, and it worked perfectly in that, to where I was like, wait, what?
There's like a drive-through divorce place in Canal City.
It was hysterical.
That's funny. I think the one that frustrates me the most, and you can always look back on it and laugh, is like whenever you type out a sentence and you're like, oh, it's just like you type in like stop and then it autocorrects it to like slop. And then you like type in stop again after it and then you hit send and it's like slop again. And then you do that like multiple times. You're like, oh my gosh, you stupid phone. Have you ever had that happen to you?
Probably. I feel like there was one time that I don't remember what I was trying to type, but it was something obviously that started with an S or whatever, and it auto-corrected to sex, and it had but it was so out of context for the rest of the sentence that they understood. But I remember being really embarrassed. I was like, no, it's supposed to be this or something. I think Maybe I was trying to type in SRC. I think it was early on. Now my phone automatically understands SRC. Like it gives me that as an option. But I think it was that because like even looking at the keyboard, those letters are all really close.
Yeah.
But yeah, it auto-corrected and I didn't catch it because I was typing real fast and I was kind of distracted. And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh,
I feel sorry
so
for
terrible.
like I'm not embarrassed by this, but I feel sorry for Erica because she has dyslexia.
Oh yeah.
And it's really bad. And a lot of the times, like a lot of our text messages are me going, okay, what did you mean?
Yeah.
Because like it's weird. Like her phone will like autocorrect to just like complete nonsense because she'll spell a word, but like all the letters are in different spots.
Yeah. No, I get that. Anthony's best friend is also dyslexic. And so he talks about that a lot of times, like some of the messages. And so they try to they just call each other more than not now because he doesn't live around here either. So that's a way that they can get some FaceTime without like, that. But I know that like audio wise, like in the car, whenever I'm trying to reply to a text message through the car and all that, every time that I say Anakin, it comes out Anna again is what it types. It's like, I don't know what you're trying to say, but this makes the most sense. And I'm like, oh my gosh, not Anna again, Anakin. And it'll go, not Anna again, Anna again.
Like this one time we were texting, Erica and I, and I was like, how serious is this specific thing or whatever? And she's like, she meant to say I'm dead serious, but it came out I'm dead simultaneous. And I was like, what?
Oh, that's funny. That's a good one. I'd be interested to know other people's. You should comment and let us know your your most embarrassing or
autocorrect
funny
mishap.
Autocorrects.
Yeah, let us know. Put it in the comments if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook. And but anyways, once again, I'm gonna post the link to taking this spiritual gifts assessment test in the show notes, the description of the show, because we just want to help you, get you pointed in the right direction, maybe get you a better understanding of where your strengths are, to where we can get you plugged in to where you will excel, at serving. And but I enjoyed this one. I've got a lot to think about, especially with that last one, talking about helping people take their next steps.
You got this.
I know I do. I have to get it.
First step is admitting, right?
I mean, this isn't a 12-step program, but the next step is to say goodbye and hope you have a wonderful weekend. Thank you so much for listening in with us today. We really appreciate it. If you haven't done so already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. You can also follow us on social media, on Facebook, Instagram. You can also watch the video version of this on YouTube as well. All you have to do is search up the Pastor's Potluck Podcast. From all of us here, we want to say thank you, and we'll see you next week.